The Hyperscan was a home console released by Mattel in 2006. While it was marketed as a video game console, it was sold almost exclusively in the toys department of many of the big box stores. The system itself is pretty small, about the size of a Discman. On the left-hand side, when you open it up, is your disc input. It's got 2 controller inputs and a power button. And then on the right side, once you fold it open here, is where it would allow you to scan in cards to add in additional content for your games. Now, the audio-video cables on the system are actually hardwired in, and the AC adapter was a separate plug. The controller, as you can see, looks very close to a PlayStation controller. It's got one analog stick, but then it's got the shoulder buttons, as well as your standard 4 buttons on the right side of the console. Now, the games, there were just about a half dozen released for the system. X-Men and Ben 10 are the 2 I have here. Now, in addition to just the game, you also get these cards, which you were able to scan into the system and would add in characters or bonus abilities depending on what the game called for. Okay, so let's try booting up the Hyperscan here. We're going to put in X-Men and fire it up. Now, as you'll see, the card reader on the right-hand side of the console will start blinking as you boot up the game here. Now, one thing with the system is it has atrocious loading times. Here's the intro for the X-Men game. The Marvel logo, again, will be followed by yet another loading screen. After a couple of minutes, you will reach the title screen here for X-Men. And another loading screen. Eventually, you'll make it here to the character load section of the game. Now, this is where you're going to put your Hyperscan cards onto the card reader and attempt to import your player into the game. And notice I said attempt. The card reader is not all that accurate. A lot of times it takes flipping the cards around and moving them just so to get them to read. Here's where I realized that I had 2 X-Men Wolverine cards. One apparently was just an ability booster card, and this one being the actual card for Wolverine, the character. But as you can see, I'm still having troubles getting it to read. Small adjustment and success. We've got Wolverine, and it is continuing to load here, and we can start a match shortly. Alright, so here is the game. Standard fighter. The controls are incredibly sluggish. Animations and frame rate, as you can see, are pretty poor. I mean, keep in mind this came out in 2006. This was competing with the PlayStation 3, the Wii, and the Xbox 360 at the time. Nothing to boast here. This is a very basic console. It's not trying to beat anybody out hardware-wise. It just couldn't compete with consoles at the time. The Hyperscan is largely considered to be the worst home console ever released, and to an extent I agree. But one thing you need to consider are games like Skylanders, Disney's Infinity, and Infinity 2.0, and even Nintendo's own recent edition of the Amiibos, which all add additional characters and content to video games through figurines that can be scanned into the systems. So as bad as the Hyperscan is, it's also an innovator, and it brought something different to the table that following video game generations and developers have been able to capitalize on to extend the content in their games. Do I recommend purchasing a Hyperscan? No, but it is an interesting side note in video game history. Thanks for watching.